Hey guys, it's DayVeeJay again, back with another classic game review and retrospective. And if you've been keeping up to date with my latest 007 binge, then you'll know there were 3 main Bond games on PS2 that I played the shit out of back in the day. We already looked at Agent Under Fire and Nightfire, so that leaves just one more, because that's how maths works. See, this is an educational channel. But anyway, Everything or Nothing, Pierce Brosnan's final walk in the shoes of our favourite British secret agent, also considered to be one of, if not the greatest Bond game of all time, and also possibly even the last truly great Bond game. Yeah, if you ask people what's the best Bond game ever made, at least on PlayStation, the answer will usually be either Nightfire or Everything or Nothing. But how does Pierce Brosnan's final adventure as our favourite 00 agent hold up today? Well, let's put on our best rental tuxes. Look, I'm running out of Bond related things to say for the intro here, okay? And find out. So James Bond 007 Everything or Nothing was developed by EA Redwood Shores, also known as Visceral Games. Yeah, the same guys who did Agent Under Fire, and published by Electronic Arts in 2004. It was on PS2, Xbox and GameCube, and there was also a version on Game Boy Advance. And well, since I looked at the Game Boy version of Nightfire, I guess we might as well take a look at this one too. So like with the previous game, we get started and it dropped straight into the prologue, where there's some kind of nuclear weapon deal between some nefarious looking sorts going down in Tajikistan. Oh, and of course they just happen to bring along some random hot chick in some skin tight leather catsuit thing. Of course, it's vital to the story. Yes, got to get a shot of the arse in there. It's essential, the whole thing falls apart without it. But anyway, it's time to put the kibosh on this shit. And if that voice sounds familiar, that's because, yeah, it probably does. Yep, we've finally got the man's voice to match the face. And not just some randomer who sounds absolutely nothing like him like we got last time. But that's not the only difference, because then we get into the action and see, oh, it's third person. So we're giving the Tomorrow Never Dies perspective another go. And as such, the basic gameplay is quite similar to that game. The combat works largely the same. You've got a targeting feature where you hold L1 to lock onto the nearest enemy, and then you can use the right stick to move the inner reticle to target individual body parts. Although we don't have the precision aim this time around, except for sniper rifles of course. One big new feature is the inclusion of a fully fledged cover system. Well, kind of fully fledged. You can take cover behind high walls, but for some reason can't behind half walls. Although you can crouch down behind them, which admittedly has the same effect, but it's just odd. I mean, why have one and not the other? So yeah, there's not a whole lot more to say for this bit, it's mostly just to introduce the basic gameplay. You just shoot the place to bits, blow up a bunch of shit, nick off with the briefcase nuke thing, and that's the mission done. But what about the most important question? What happened to the pretty young vixen with the money? And the answer is, fuck knows, she never turns up again. So what was the point of her? She doesn't even have any lines. She's literally there just to be fucking eye candy. Although to be fair, that's the function of most of the women in the Bond movies. So yeah, not really sure what more I could have expected really. And again, like in Nightfire, we get treated to a music video like the credits in the films. But whereas in that game, it was just a short clip, here it's a full-on opening credit sequence that includes the cast of characters. And as we can see, in addition to Pierce Brosnan, we also have the acting talents of Judi Dench and John Cleese as M and Q respectively. And Willem Dafoe's in this? Oh my god, he's got to be the villain. Please say he's the villain. And also, Richard Kiel? What? Jaws is in this? Like as an actual character? Okay, whatever. But yeah, it's a pretty decent video, and the song's kind of catchy. I mean, I've had the fucking thing stuck in my head for the past few weeks now, and it's only bound to be stuck in there for at least a few more, what with me editing all this shit. So with that done with, we create our save profile and enter our name, and yeah, why do I even fucking bother anymore? And after that, it's time for some training. And it looks like the boys over at MI6 use the same virtual reality suite as the X-Men in Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. But yeah, this is just to introduce us to the rest of the basic gameplay mechanics, like our new rappel gun that lets us walk up and down walls, the hand-to-hand combat, which is simple enough. You've got a couple different moves, you can beat the shit out of them, do some basic throws and grapples, and some counter-attacks. It's nothing complex, but it's just nice to actually have some options for unarmed combat this time, unlike a certain other game. How do I hit him? How do I hit him? I can't hit him, what the fuck, man? Oh, for fuck's sake. And speaking of spiders, we're then introduced to another of our new gadgets, the spider bot or whatever, which you can use to go through narrow openings to find hidden areas and get the drop on enemies. So all that's fine enough. I just find it a bit weird that you're being guided through it all by M and Q, like you need a babysitter or something. I mean, Q I get, because he needs to explain all your gadgets and shit, but why's M here? Has the head of MI6 not got out better to do? But with that done, we then get into the main story. We're headed to Egypt to rescue a kidnapped scientist who's meant to be one of the leading researchers into nanotechnology. And yeah, we can't be letting that shit fall into the wrong hands. Didn't you ever see Agent Cody Banks? So we track the doctor to a weapons research place or whatever, and then do what anyone would in this kind of situation. Blow the whole entire thing to Kingdom Come, along with the dam that it's part of. Yeah, that seems like the most reasonable course of action. I'm sure no negative consequences will come of that. So now we've just got to descend this crumbling building with our seemingly infinite rappel gun, taking out all the guys and avoiding all the explosions in our way. So yeah, simple enough, not a whole lot to say. Although it is pretty funny if you get killed while you're rappelling down the building, cause you then get treated to the sight of Bond just hanging there from his rappel, like Woody dangling by his pull string. And when you reach the bottom, that's the mission done. Yeah, a lot of the missions in this one are quite a bit shorter than in previous games, but there's a lot more of them to balance it out. We then see the Doctor being forced onto a train, so now we've got to go after her. And I like that the next mission is literally just called Train Chase. Yeah, no clever or witty title or anything, just Train Chase. I mean, it does what it says on the tin, I guess, so yeah, fair enough. But anyway, we've now got to chase down the train what's carrying the Doctor, and we actually get a choice of which vehicle we want to use. We can either take our brand new Porsche Cayenne SUV or this random dirt bike or whatever. But whichever way you choose, the mission's more or less the same. You just follow the train, blasting the shit out of all the fuckers in your path, all while destroying countless examples of irreplaceable ancient Egyptian architecture. No! You're gonna wake up Imhotep again! Didn't you ever see The Mummy? I'm not playing the fucking game again. One fucking time's enough to last me the rest of my fucking days. And of course, we still get the Bond moments for doing stunts or finding clever and creative ways for taking out enemies. So then we get aboard the train and it's on to the next mission, and it's here where we come across an aspect that I really liked about this game, since it's something that I've been harping on about all along pretty much. And that is, the game actually gives us multiple ways to play and achieve our objectives, namely by using, yep, you guessed it, stealth. See here, we've got to go from car to car, taking out all the guys in our way. And yeah, we can just slaughter all these chuds if we want to. That's a perfectly viable option, if you don't mind taking them all on at once. And if the alarm gets set off, then you get even more coming after you, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed. But if you don't mind being patient, you can take them out one at a time by waiting until no one's watching and then sneaking up behind them and doing a stealth takedown. Or you can just use your silenced pistol, which as usual is unrealistically effective, especially in such a small space. But hey, that's just games for you. But yeah, it's cool that we actually get to choose how to play, and the game even rewards you for being stealthy, since that's how you get a lot of the Bond moments, which contribute to your score at the end of the mission. So we just make our way through the train, taking out guys and wrecking shit, until you run into a familiar face. What the hell, Jaws? I thought you were good now! Why are you so angry, Jaws? What, did things not work out with Dolly? That's no reason to become a villain again. There's still plenty of fish in the sea. So yeah, this is our first boss fight, and it's simple enough. You just take cover while the great lumbering fuck hurls these pillar things at you, and then you run over and beat the shit out of him until he backs into the electricity. You do that a bunch of times, and there you go. I'm sure that's the last we'll be seeing of him. And like I said earlier, we again get graded on our performance at the end of each mission, although we don't really unlock anything this time, apart from some bits of concept art. So yeah, that's something. So we find the Doctor and escape via helicopter, but then we've got to chase down the General or whatever what kidnapped her. So it's time for another vehicle mission, and this is another new thing. We've never seen a proper flying mission in any of these games before, and yeah, it's pretty good. It controls well, although as you'd expect, it's a bit trickier than the ground-based vehicles, but it's not too bad. You've got rockets and bombs and shit, and again, you've just got to blast all the shit in your way, all while destroying even more priceless ancient Egyptian artifacts. God damn it, you're just making Imhotep even angrier! Look, we're even seeing some of the same traps! It's gonna be fucking plagues of locusts and scarab beetles next! But yeah, this whole thing's easy enough. You've just got to watch out for these bits where you've got shit like fallen rocks, cause if you get caught in them, you'll die and get sent back to the start. So we just blast our way through all this shit and then come to this bit. And what the fuck is this? I mean, okay, we are following on from fucking Die Another Day, so it was only a matter of time before things started to get ridiculous. But I didn't think we'd be getting into the really crazy shit this early on. So yeah, now we've got to fight the General on his amphibious platform base thing, complete with energy shields like something out of fucking Halo, and this is simple as well. You've just got to avoid all the shit he fires at you and blast his shield generators and then blast him, and there you go. Again, you've just got to be careful not to get too close to the base when the generators are falling, cause if they hit you, they can drop your health super quick and kill you, which of course means you've got to start all over again. And with that done, we return the Doctor home, and of course this slippery fuck tries to put the moves on her, but oh shit, turns out the good Doctor, ain't so good after all. Cause yeah, turns out she's working with Willem Dafoe, who of course is betraying the main villain, Nikolai Diavolo. Diavolo? Is that a real Russian name? I keep wanting to call him Nikolai Diablo, which incidentally, yeah, that's what Diavolo means. It's just the Italian version of Diablo. So yeah, we're fighting El Diablo, which, I mean, Bond's fought just about everyone else. I guess it was only a matter of time before he ended up fighting the devil himself. And oh yeah, Jaws is still alive, cause who didn't see that coming? So then we have a short interlude where we get briefed on our next mission, in which we're being sent after El Diablo himself, who as it turns out is not only a former KGB agent, but also the protege of one Max Zorin, yeah, the Looney Tunes villain from fucking A View to a Kill of all things. I'm not quite sure why they thought we needed a call back to that essential chapter in the Bond saga, but whatever. So yeah, you're gonna need to bring your A game, Willem, if you're gonna out batshit Christopher Walken. And after that, we stop by Q Branch, where we get shown our new gadgets and meet Q's pretty new assistant, who based on these head movements may or may not be a malfunctioning android. Yeah, I think she needs to go back in for some calibrations, Q. So anyway, we're headed to Peru now, where apparently our fellow agent 003 has gone missing while investigating El Diablo, and we need to find out why. But oh shit, we've only just landed and already we've been rumbled. Yeah, so much for secrecy and intelligence, huh? So we just chase these fuckos down and blow them up before they give us away, and that's that. Yeah, I'm not really sure why that bit was necessary, but again, whatever. So we check out 003's safe house, where we intercept a call from someone called Serena, who needs help. So now we've got to go and find her. And this is where the game takes an, interesting turn. See, we've got to drive through this town to find this Serena chick, while avoiding the local authorities, who are all in Willem Dafoe's pocket. And to be honest, it actually kind of turns into GTA for this bit, since you can pretty much go crashing through this quaint little town, terrorising the locals, and if the cops or soldiers spot you, you pretty much get a wanted level and they chase you. They've even got the same kind of objective markers as some of the older games. So yeah, that's kind of funny. But of course, since the developers are a bunch of fucking buzzkills, no, you can't go around bouncing innocent people off the hood of your swanky new Porsche. I mean, come on, they're just jumbles of pixels. They're not alive, so what's the problem? I need to get my pent-up gamer rage out somehow. So yeah, as usual, when you get near the fuckers, they either just run out of the way or phase through you. Pussies. Anyway, like I said, you've got to stay out the way of the soldiers who'll chase you if they see you, but you've got a couple things to help you avoid them. First we've got the mini-map that shows the positions of the enemies, and then you've got your car's cloak and shit that lets you go invisible and sneak by them, even though it doesn't silence the fucking engine. And of course the pedestrians just somehow know to get out the way of the apparent ghost car that's haunting the community. So whenever you see a patrol coming near on the map, just turn on your invisibility until they pass by. Although you then come to this bit where the road's blocked just for some reason, so you've got to create a distraction by blowing up the conveniently placed fireworks shop with your little RC car thing. Sorry RC, but sacrifices have to be made. And then we just head up to the hotel, where we meet our main bit of crumpet this time around, Miss Serena Saint-Germain, who agrees to take us to 003's last known location. So now we've got to drive all the way back down to some platinum mine or whatever, and it's just the same as before, except you don't have to bother avoiding the patrols if you don't want to, although it is preferable if you want to get there without any hassle. So it's a bit annoying that your invisibility cloak thing doesn't really last all that long, so every time you pass a patrol you've got to mess around, turn the thing off and on again to conserve the battery, and it also switches off every time you make the slightest bit of contact with anything. So unless you're really diligent about it and drive carefully to avoid all the patrols, you're most likely just going to get spotted, so you might as well not bother. Anyway, you make it to the mine and that's the mission done, and now we've got to get in there and find 003. And once again, you've got the option of using stealth, which is cool, although one problem is, if a guard spots you, even if you manage to take him out before he raises the alarm or fires a shot or anything really, everyone else just automatically knows you're there, and any chance of being stealthy goes straight out the window. And with that, we'll now take a deeper look at the movement and combat. The controls are decent enough. They're responsive and the movement's smooth and quick, which is nice, although it can be a bit annoying when you're going through tight areas like these, since it is pretty easy to get stuck on stuff, but it's not a huge deal. One irritating thing is, there's no way to hop over smaller obstacles like low walls or crates or what have you, meaning you've got no choice but to go around, which admittedly isn't a huge problem most of the time, but it's still a little annoying. But then you'll come to bits where the way out will literally be blocked by a 3-foot high wall or whatever that pretty much anyone, never mind a highly trained secret agent, could easily climb over. So then you've got to take some long ass alternate route to get around. So yeah, that's pretty dumb, and immersion breaking. Hell, we even see the guy do it in the opening cutscene, so why can't we during gameplay? Did you not have enough buttons or something? I mean, you've got the circle button being taken up by a forward roll move that really only came in handy a couple times throughout the whole game. Why couldn't they have made circle be for jumping and hopping over stuff instead? That would have been way more useful. The combat's decent as well. It's fast paced and engaging, there's a good range of weapons, and there's a couple nice touches like being able to disarm enemies by shooting them in the arms, and some will even try and last stand you before going to meet their makers. So yeah, it's pretty cool, although it's not perfect, it does have problems. For one, since there's no kind of free aim or anything, you're pretty much forced to use the lock-on feature, meaning you're mostly limited to targeting one enemy at a time, and it can be a little clunky switching between targets, like sometimes the button won't respond and you've got to press it again for it to work, all while getting shot all over. And then there'll be times where it doesn't target the correct enemy, or they'll be in a spot where it can't reach for some reason, even though you can still see them and they can shoot you. It doesn't happen often enough to be a major problem, but it's still irritating when it does. So overall, even though the combat is good and it functions well, and it's nice that we're able to see Bond all the time now, I think I prefer the first person combat from the previous games, but that's probably more down to personal taste than anything else. But anyway, you eventually make it to the top of the mine or whatever, where we find 003, or 003 is said by Willem Dafoe in his silly faux Russian accent, and then you've got to get to him before he succumbs to his wounds. But of course, when you do, the guy pulls the classic trick of popping his clogs literally the second he was about to reveal what the villain's evil plan is. Like seriously, could you not hold on a couple seconds longer, dickhead? Although he does mention New Orleans, so that's something at least. And then we've just got to fight our way out, and it's mostly the same as before. Although another thing I like is how your gadgets have a much greater effect on gameplay and are better integrated than in the previous games. See, in the likes of Agent Under Fire, Nightfire and GoldenEye 007, you of course had gadgets and they play an important role, but they don't really affect the gameplay all that much. Like you'll come to a lock or something, you'll use your laser on it, and there you go. Doesn't really make all that much difference when you think about it. But here, the gadgets actually have a much more significant impact. Like now you can walk up and down walls and even engage in combat like that. You can use your spider bots to get the drop on bad guys, you've got your coin grenades, your dark gun, you can use your thermal vision to see in the dark. So yeah, it's nice that the gadgets seem to matter a lot more this time and help make for more varied gameplay. So we reach the top of the mountain where we run into the doctor again, for some reason now dressed in a skin-tight catsuit thing as well, just because I guess. I mean, Jesus Christ, you're in fucking Peru, you must be sweltering in that thing. But anyway, she's captured Miss Saint-Germain, whom she then yeets out of the helicopter. And I guess since Bond hasn't had the chance to plow her yet, he just suicide dives straight after her. And we then get this interesting bit where we've got to catch up with the chick, while avoiding all the shit in our way because, fuck you physics, you have no power here. So yeah, since Bond's apparently a superhero now, we've just got to strafe back and forth in mid-air to avoid being splattered across all the obstacles in our way, thoroughly wiping our asses all over the laws of physics until you catch up with Serena, all while still shooting at guys, even though I think there's more important things to worry about right now. And why are they even bothering to shoot at you? I mean, it's not like there's any way you could possibly survive, so what's the point? You're just wasting ammo. But no, physics won't win this battle, cause once you catch up with Serena, you just use your, again, apparently infinite repel gun to bring yourself to a nice graceful stop. Cause again, go fuck yourself, Isaac Newton. Then in the next mission, we escape from the mine in a tank with Miss Saint-Germain driving while we use the guns. So yeah, it's another on-rail section, and it's fine enough. It plays pretty much the same as all the other ones we've seen in these games. Although there was one thing I found annoying. If you're using the main gun, apparently you only actually do damage if you get a direct hit, like if the shell actually hits the target. If you miss, even by just a millimeter, the enemy doesn't seem to get hurt, even if they get caught in the explosion. Like, you do know how explosions work, don't you? You know they damage everything around them, not just the thing they're coming from, right? And after destroying half the town, you just abandon Serena at 003's place. Yeah, I'm sure she'll be safe there, just living near a bunch of guys who want her dead, while you escape on 003's bike and jump on the plane and get out of there. Like, why don't you just take her with you? So what, if you're just supposed to live there and hope that the bad guys don't stumble across it? Nice one, Bond. But anyway, we're headed to New Orleans to find out what Willem Dafoe's up to there. And first we've got another vehicle mission where we've got to meet up with an NSA agent who's working with us. So overall, while the vehicle handling and controls are decent, I still don't think they're quite as good as what we had in Agent Under Fire. See, while the handling does differ between the various vehicles, for example the Cayenne feels a lot heavier than the Aston Martin, as it should considering it's a larger vehicle, overall it does feel a bit lighter and less responsive than in the previous games. Like it's harder to make turns without crashing into stuff, and it just seems a bit harder to control, especially the motorbikes, which are just way too fast and light, to the point where you can barely go a couple seconds without crashing into something. I just felt like I had a bit more control in the earlier games, particularly in Agent Under Fire. I don't know, it just seems like they managed to get the balance between the vehicle weight and speed and the sensitivity of the controls and shit just right. Anyway, we head over to where we're supposed to meet the agent, only to find that the bitch has stood us up. Although she is kind enough to give us a call on the payphone to tell us to investigate a warehouse belonging to one of Willem Dafoe's henchmen. But before we can do that, we've got to nick a truck from his head driver. And this was where the mission went to shit for me. Or not because it was actually bad or anything. Nah, it's just me being an absolute fucking denser. So you go to the diner where the guy's eating and then just nick off in his truck like you're Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. And then drive over to the warehouse where you just have to bug the other trucks. But then, oh shit, it seems our NSA friend's been rumbled. And Willem Dafoe's sending guys to the club she's undercover at to take her out. So now we've got to chase down this guy to find out which club she's at. And with no other vehicles to use, we've got no choice but to jump in this big and slow ass fucking truck to chase this jerk off in his fast limousine and just smash into him over and over again. All while there's other guys shooting at us while we're trying to run this guy off the road. And it was about this point where I thought to myself, Come on, there's gotta be a better way to do this. And well, yes. Yes, there is. Yeah, turns out I made this mission a whole lot harder for myself just by being a total dumbass, as usual. And to do it the smart way, the 007 way, we have to go all the way back to where you steal the truck at the diner. And while, yeah, you can do that if you want, you can also just open the back, park the Aston Martin in it, and just let the guy carry you to the warehouse, where you'll still have your car for when you've got to go after the guy in the limousine. And it just makes it all so much easier. So yeah, I'm an idiot. Fuck me, I'd never make it as a fucking secret agent. So anyway, you just run the guy off the road, he tells you the name of the club, and now we've got to get in there and save the agent. And this was where the game started to get a bit irritating. So we've got to get in the club, but we can't go in through the, I don't know, VIP entrance or something, cause oh dear, we're not on the list. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the fact that we're just standing there with a fucking gun in our hands. Nope, nothing at all. So you break in through this window, after which we get treated to this essential bit, which as it turns out, you have to do if you want to be stealthy, cause if this daft cunt doesn't get a fucking massage, it sets the fucking alarm off on you. Despite apparently having no problem with you firing your gun and setting off grenades right fucking next to it. Cause yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? But stealthy or not, you make it to the main part of the club where El Diablo's guy, who looks like the Big Show about 40 years past his prime, has got the NSA agent and then runs off with her. So then you've just got to shoot the place to bits and chase after him. And this bit was annoying because you then come up against these, I don't know, I guess brute enemies or something, who don't have guns and instead just come charging at you with melee weapons and shit. Cause yeah, just go running at the guy with a gun, why don't ya? That seems like a good fucking idea. But actually, yeah, seems it is, since it's pretty easy for them to overwhelm you and drop your health. So yeah, this was one of the few times where the roll move actually came in handy. Anyway, you shoot up the club and in the next mission end up in this random spooky graveyard for some reason, where our NSA friend has been handed over to the fucking crypt keeper here, and we've just got to shoot our way through to save her. And there's not a whole lot to say, it's mostly the same as before, although I do have a couple other criticisms. Firstly, as you might have noticed, we have no checkpoints again. Well, no, that's not entirely true. There are some throughout the game, but only in some missions, mostly the longer ones, which is good I suppose, but there's still plenty with none at all, so as you can guess, you get killed or fuck up once in those, and it's straight back to the start. And like I said before, these missions aren't as long as those in the previous games, but it's still annoying to have to start again every time you fail, especially in ones like these where you've got to do stupid shit like this at the start. And another odd and slightly annoying thing is that you usually get very little ammo from picking up dropped weapons. Like for the most part, you only get a few rounds, and I just found it a bit strange. Like you'd think the enemies will be carrying more than that. But it also means that most of the time you really don't have all that much ammo, which I guess increases the challenge since you have to be more careful about accuracy. But it's also just irritating that you often run out and constantly be switching between all the weapons you've got looking for anything with a few rounds left in it. I mean, what is this? Fucking survival horror? What good is a shooting game if you've barely got any ammo half the time? And also, like an agent under fire, you use one button to use your weapons and another to use your gadgets, which like in that game inevitably leads to you getting them mixed up, especially when you've got gadgets that would usually be considered weapons. For example, you've got your coin grenades, which are obviously gadgets, but since traditionally grenades are considered to be weapons, just by instinct when I go to use one I press the fire button, which is wrong, and I end up putting the fucking grenade away again, for fuck's sake man. Anyway, you make it to the crematorium where Daryl Dixon here is preparing to stick our agent friend in the oven for a few minutes. Oh, we got a quick flash up address there. But yeah, this is just another standard boss fight. You just blast the shit out of Jean LaRouge while making sure to turn off the conveyor before Agent Starling here gets turned into a crispy critter. And once you've done that, you go through another car chase and then blow up the warehouse with our RC car for good measure. And then we just return Miss Starling home like it's the end of a date or something. And like the end of all dates that involve being kidnapped and nearly burned alive, of course she invites you inside for a bout of post-murder and mayhem bonking. So that's what I've been doing wrong all these years. Oh, my next date's gonna have some surprises in store for her. If I ever get one. But anyway, in the next mission, we're at some big old plantation house, what the bad guys are using for their plan, and we need to get in there and find out why. So like with the previous games, the graphics are pretty good for the time. The environments are well detailed, and there's some good lighting and weather effects that really add to the atmosphere. I particularly like the reflections on the cars during vehicle missions, although I also came across quite a few visual glitches where textures wouldn't load properly or shadows would keep flickering in and out of existence, so that kind of took me out of it a bit. The character models are decent as well. All the main characters resemble their real life counterparts, although again the facial expressions can be a bit funny looking at times. Give me a kiss. I was also impressed with the animations. The movement and unarmed combat look and feel really smooth and fluid, more so than most other games of the time. And then we of course come to the voice acting. And well, at least all the characters sound right this time, and I guess it's cool to hear the voices of the actual actors from the films, as well as all the other celebrities involved. But apart from the obvious hype that would bring to the game, to be honest, I'm not really sure why they even bothered. I mean, the voice acting's fine, as you'd expect, but really that's probably the best word for it. It's fine. And in all honesty, looking back on it all these years later, it's actually kind of underwhelming. I don't know, it's just with the level of star power involved, I just expected a little more. So yeah, for the most part, it sounds like they're all, including Brosnan, just kind of phoning it in a bit, except for John Cleese, cause he always puts his all in. I mean, hell, he even did a decent job in The Fucking World's Not Enough on PS1. Now that's some dedication right there.
Why do I even bother?
Even Willem Dafoe's kind of a letdown. I mean, given his reputation for absolute batshit lunacy, and also because he's genuinely a great actor, again, I just expected a little more. Although to be fair, it's not just the actor's fault, since it's not like the material they've got to work with is that great. Yeah, it's all just early 2000s video game dialogue, it's all hammy and over the top, and there's only so much you can do with that, no matter how good you are. But anyway, yeah, I complained about the voices when they didn't sound like the characters they were portraying, and now I'm complaining about the voices when they do sound like the characters they're portraying. What can I say? I'm a worky ticket. Oh, and once again, the chatter between regular enemies during combat's pretty funny too. It's just your usual generic context-free babble, like sometimes they'll taunt you by going, "Let's see what you got," after you've literally just slaughtered like 5 of his buddies. Or, "We have an intruder," even though everyone already knows you're there. Or my personal favourite, "That guy's a spy," again after you've shot the place to bits and slaughtered a bunch of guys. Like, wow, no shit Sherlock, what gave me away? Anyway, we'll make it to the computer room or whatever, where Willem Dafoe's been kind enough to leave a whole recorded TED talk detailing his evil plan. And as you're probably expecting, it's well, let's just say it's a few fries short of a Happy Meal. Turns out El Diablo's combined the Doctor's nanobots with fungal spores from the bayou, which allows them to eat metal now, cause yeah, that works apparently, and yeah, they're gonna use them to take over the world, I guess. Well, I had to top die another day somehow, I suppose. And then we find the Big Show's lab where the nanobots are. And this isn't hard, you've just got to wreck all the machinery and shit and then drop this giant disco ball on his head. But we're still not done, because now Jaws, oh yeah, he's still in this, is on his way to the city with a truck full of nanobots, so now we've got to chase him on our bike and stop him. And this is an okay chase, I suppose. You're just flying along, blasting bad guys and avoiding obstacles and shit. Which, yeah, you've really got to be careful, what with how bad this fucking thing handles, but that's about it. Not much more to say. Although it was also at about this point where I thought to myself, you know, they went to the trouble to bring back Jaws, obviously because of how well loved the character is. So why didn't they bring back any other classic characters, like Felix Leiter or Jack Wade? Or hell, we're in Louisiana, why not bring back fucking Sheriff J.W. Pepper?
What did you think she could go off the road? Yeah, but they could get the driver's license, boy! Please, I drove off on the road! Đi vào con này vui! I've never done that before!
Neither have I, actually.
But anyway, you run Jaws off the road and save the city, and after another interlude at MI6, we're back in Peru to find out where Willem Dafoe's going to attack next. But we can't just go and ask him, cause nah, that'll be way too simple, wouldn't it? Nah, instead we have to win one of the races that he apparently puts on, which we're only just finding out about now for some reason. Oh, fine, whatever, we'll do the race, I guess. But no, we can't just go in the race, cause nah, that'd be too simple as well. And instead we've got to sneak into this place so we can nick one of the driver's racing overalls, and then we can enter the race, which is pretty standard. You know, it's a race. You drive, you come in first, you win. And now we can see Willem Dafoe, who immediately recognises you and orders his guys to kill you. Wow, great job, Bond. I'm not really sure what the fuck you're expecting there. So now we've got to fight our way out of this place. And wait a minute, this is the same place we snuck into to get the driver's uniform. So if we could get in that easily, why do we need to bother doing the race in the first place? Why not just bust in there and be like, "Oh Willem, what the fuck you doing with these nanobots, bitch?" It'd be so much fucking easier. So yeah, the whole thing with the race was literally just to add a couple more missions to drag out the game, which is already pretty long to begin with. So what the fuck was the point of this shit? I don't get it. But anyway, you escape from El Diablo's house, I guess, get chased through the town, first in the race car and then on your bike, and then return to the platinum mine where you instantly get caught by the doctor. Wow, great job again, Bond, really showing the world why our boys at MI6 are top fucking dog. But of course, we come back to the tired old trope of the villains being a bunch of absolute fuckwits. I mean, seriously again, why with the fucking sleeper darts? Why not just blow his fucking head off? But no, instead they just knock you out so they can put you in this fucking sword trap or whatever what's gonna drill a few new holes in you, but then they just walk away and leave you. Like, why wouldn't you stay and watch? I mean, if I went to the trouble of setting up my arch enemy to die horribly, I'd want to watch the whole thing. Not saying I would do that, but if I was to, I would, just to make sure the guy's actually dead, if nothing else. Oh, and in case you were wondering, if you do nothing, no, you don't get to see Bond get drilled. Yeah, you'll have to go somewhere else if you want to see that. Nah, instead it just fades to black and you fail the mission. Cause again, these pansy-ass fucking developers. So you just use your EMP coin grenade that you've been conveniently left with to break the drill and free yourself. Then get your equipment back, which has also just conveniently been left with you. Then you destroy the mine and escape with Serena. And now it's time for the final act, where we take the fight to Willem Dafoe, who's initiated his plan to take over Mother Russia with his army of platinum tanks that he's just somehow managed to get inside the country without anyone noticing. Man, this story's so fucking stupid. And of course Jaws is still alive, and we actually get to see him with the other villains, which we never have done up until this point. I mean, until now, I was legitimately starting to wonder if Willem Dafoe even realised that Jaws was actually working for him. So we hijack one of his tanks, and then it's another vehicle mission, where it's pretty much the Battle of fucking Stalingrad, where you're just going around blasting the shit out of El Diablo's forces with your rockets and plasma cannon, and you can also use the nanobots to erode metal stuff. So you think this would be pretty fun, but instead it's just irritating because you move quite slow, so it's easy for the enemies to hit you. And since there's no checkpoints here or any kind of health pickups from what I can tell, they just whittle you down over the course of the mission until the end where you've barely got any health left. And if you get killed, then of course you get sent all the way back to the start again. Man, I would have thought a tank made out of fucking platinum would be a bit more durable. Apparently not. Then in the next mission, we end up in some underground base beneath the Kremlin. Man, Putin's probably like, God damn it, these motherfuckers are giving away all my fucking secrets. But anyway, you've just got to fight your way through all this shit to find Willem Dafoe. And one thing I was honestly surprised by was how good the enemy AI was. Well, most of the time at least. And actually, that's where a lot of the challenge comes from. Yeah, the enemies are devious little fuckers. They'll flank you, overrun you, use grenades to flush you out of cover into a hail of bullets. Disarmed enemies will grab any weapon they can to take you out. During stealth, they'll respond to noises and dead bodies and shit. So yeah, in short, the AI is definitely a step above whatever Nightfire on PC was trying to do. Yeah. And after all that, old Tinsel Teeth turns up again and it's time for another boss fight. And this was a bit annoying because he's got this big ass fucking flamethrower, and if you get caught in the fire it only takes about a second or two to completely drop your health, even when you're behind cover and the flames aren't even fucking touching you. But yeah, you've just got to avoid the flames and shoot them all over to slowly lower his health, and when he turns around, shoot the fuel tanks on his back to take off a big chunk. And once all his health's gone, you jump in the damaged jet and use the ejector seat to escape the elevator, which is quickly hurtling towards the Earth's core apparently, and that's the end of Jaws, I guess. I mean, he never turns up again, so who the fuck knows? And then it's just back to fighting your way through the base until you find Willem Dafoe and the Doctor, who are preparing to launch missiles full of nanobots to bring the world to its knees. And actually, by this point, he is starting to turn into the over-the-top cartoon villain I was hoping he'd be. So yeah, that's pretty funny. But anyway, you close the vents or whatever to stop the missiles from launching, and then take control of a rocket turret thing to blast Willem Dafoe and the Doctor, and there you go. But it's not over yet, because then the fuckers turn up again in a jet, and now you've got to fight them. And this is simple enough. You've just got to grab the rocket launchers and blast the jet a bunch of times. You've just got to make sure to time your shots properly, since you've got shit scrolling by in front of you that'll block your rockets if you don't fire at the right time. And once you've done that, the jet crashes, the nanobots start leaking, and that brings us to probably my favourite part of the entire game. Now there's the Willem Dafoe we all know and love. He's literally like, "I'll get you, Bond!" And Bond's just like, "Yeah, whatever, mate." But, oh, come on, we're not done yet. Yeah, while overall I did have a good time with this game, it does start to wear on a bit in the final act. Anyway, we're making back up to the top level or whatever, where apparently one of the missiles has been rearmed and is targeted on London. Oh, I wonder who's done that. And this was where the game went from being a bit irritating to an absolute fucking ball ache, since you pretty much just have to fight your way through a seemingly endless army of bad guys, and they're throwing just about everything they've got at you. There's fucking snipers, rocket launchers, they'll fucking overrun you, sneak around behind you and shoot you in the back, and there's even fucking invisible enemies now, and it's just really easy to have your health completely obliterated at a moment's notice. But once you make it through all that shite, you again find Willem Dafoe about to launch the missile, and you've just got to blow him the fuck up before he does. Which wouldn't be too bad if the sneaky fuckers didn't make it get hit by a fucking rocket that takes down most of your health pretty much as soon as you get back control. Seriously, you've got about a second to move before it hits you. I mean, how the fuck are you meant to dodge that shit the first fucking time, you fucking trash bastards? And then of course, when you get back up, he's still firing rockets at you, so you've got to make sure to keep moving, all while firing rockets back at him. So yeah, this was probably the only other time where I actually found the forward roll useful. So you blast Willem again, and he falls out of the tower or whatever he's in, straight into the missile silo. Well, it's not as bad as what happened to him in Antichrist, I suppose. But he still manages to set off the launch, so now you've got to destroy the missile. And apparently you've got to be careful where you're standing when you take out El Diablo, cause one time after I did, I spawned right inside the silo or whatever and died instantly and had to do the fucking thing again. But anyway, you just jump in this turret thing and blow the missile up, which in theory should rain the nanobots all over the city, but who the fuck cares? I'm done with this shit. Bond reunites with Miss Saint-Germain, who's there just for some reason. They share a crudely animated kiss and yeah, that's that. So that was Everything or Nothing on PS2. And in conclusion, is it the best Bond game on PlayStation, or of all time? I'm not sure. It's definitely a good game, but is it better than Nightfire? Personally, I think I prefer the latter just that little bit more. But despite that, like I say, it's a great game and a lot of fun to play, for the most part. The third-person perspective helps set it apart from the other titles in the series, and the movement and combat function well. And overall, the gameplay is more interesting thanks to the greater emphasis on gadgets, and the fact that you've got a lot more options for how you tackle objectives. The graphics are decent, and the game definitely has high production values, but again, I did find the voice acting mostly underwhelming despite coming from the actors from the films as well as other well-established names. The writing's not very good, and the story's just total nonsense that goes on for way too long, with missions that make no sense purely just to drag it out even more. But overall, as a final outing for Pierce Brosnan as our favourite 00 agent, it is a decent send-off. But only cause it's a video game. Yeah, if this was a film, like I've seen claims it was originally intended to be, yeah, I get that it's following on from Die Another Day, but without a radically different script, it would have gotten absolutely fucking trashed by both critics and fans alike. But despite its shortcomings, it is a great game, and again, possibly the last truly great one in the Bond franchise. Yeah, there were good ones after, but I don't think any of them were quite able to measure up to this or those that came before. So if you've never played it, I recommend you do so. But we're not done yet, are we? Since I did say we'd take a look at the Game Boy version, and well, I am a man of my word, I guess. So yeah, let's give it a go. So we get started, and as you can see, we're skipping the intro and training levels and jumping straight in with the weapons facility in Egypt. Although there's no mention of the doctor here, so I guess we're just blowing it up because we want to. Then next, we see that even though the game isn't in full third-person 3D, because I guess that was just a bit much for the modest power of the Game Boy Advance, so instead we get this isometric view, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same as the console version. You just run along the roofs, blasting bad guys, and then jump down with your rappel gun, and that's that. And then we get an example of the quality voice acting the Game Boy Advance was capable of.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and I thought the M in the world's not enough on PS1 sounded like a broken fucking robot. And what's up with this dialogue? That was a near thing, 007. Since when did M ever talk like that? And then we get this interesting bit where you can spend points earned during the mission on gadgets that upgrade your performance, like boots that let you move faster or armor that reduces the amount of damage you take. So that's a cool little thing, adds a new dimension to the gameplay. And after that, the story changes completely, since we're now on our way to some casino to find the Big Show, who looks like this now, and who apparently has the nanobots, so we've got to sneak in and find him. That's right, it's a stealth mission. Oh Jesus. But don't worry, you don't have to be stealthy if you don't want to, although you do get more points to spend on upgrades if you are. So you just sneak around this place, either shooting the guards or going up behind them and doing a stealth takedown, which only actually works if you're literally touching the fucking guy. Then you find your way to this area, and after some random cameos from Dominique and Raphael from Nightfire for some reason, we then find the guy we're after, who's apparently hosting a game of Baccarat, a game I have absolutely no idea how to play, and as such I've never played once in my whole life. So you can probably understand that I was very much not looking forward to what was likely coming next. But thankfully, no, we don't have to play fucking Baccarat, because then the guy runs off and you've got to chase after him. And then we get into a car chase that admittedly looks a little better than your average SNES game, where you just have to blast the guy off the road. And that was about all I could be arsed with. So yeah, obviously it's nowhere near as good as the console version, even though again it is a bit cool that they managed to get the gameplay to somewhat resemble the main game, but to play on your Game Boy Advance on a long car trip back in the day, it's fine enough I suppose. And yeah, one go on that's enough to last me the rest of my life. Now as I just said, there's been tons of Bond games since Everything or Nothing, even on PS2. And what's more is, yeah, I played quite a few of them back in the day. But the thing is, even though I played them, by that point I was kind of losing interest in Bond a bit, so I never really had the same love for or connection with them I did with the ones we just looked at. So I'll be leaving them for another time. And plus, I just don't want to be doing Bond games all the way up until the end of the year. So yeah, it's gonna be a while before we step into 007's shoes again. But don't worry guys, as it always says at the end, Bond will be back. It just, well it might be a while. Well there's this year's batch of Bond reviews done. I guess we'll have to wait till 2025 for the next lot. And now I think I'm gonna return to my roots for a little while. That's right, starting soon we're going to be looking at some more PS1 games, so keep an eye out for that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then leave a like. If you didn't, then tell me to go fuck myself. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're making good progress. So if you enjoy my content and have yet to subscribe, I will be extremely grateful if you would do so. And as always, thank you so much to everyone who already has. And also, as you may have seen, I recently started a Patreon, so if you would like to support my work even further, I would very much appreciate it if you would consider donating. See the linked video for more information. Thanks again for watching, and now, I'm getting out of here before anything else happens.